Hello everyone, welcome to NDA Defense Institute's Daily Current Affairs. So let us see some of the important current affairs of today. The first one, it is fly ash. So recently NTPC, National Thermal Power Plant Corporation, a Maharatna CPS, a Central Public Sector Undertaking under the Ministry of Power. So it is India's largest integrated power producer, coal power producer, and it has a plan for utilization of 100% utilization of fly ash. And he said it has received expression of interest. It means companies are willing for this sale of fly ash from the designated ports of the Middle East and other regions. So what is fly ash? Simple. So cement look like this and fly ash somewhat look like this. It is nothing but a byproduct of power generation with coal. So after the coal is burnt, what is the remaining? That is called fly ash. So generally two type of ash is there. One is bottom ash and another one is fly ash. Like the bottom, it is have more weight and it is used to settle the bottom of the cooling tower. The fly ash, it is less weight, and it is used to flow in the air. And this specific fly ash, it is a very fine material, fine thin material, and it is a byproduct after the coal is being burnt. And yes, so this fly ash is ideally used in the manufacturing of cement, concrete products, cellular concrete and other bricks, blocks and tiles. So specifically this fly ash bricks, they are less weight and they are strong, so it will be used in the eco-friendly method. Also this fly ash causes lot of air pollution, bottom ash as well as the fly ash. So utilizing this fly ash in other uses, it is a kind of a reuse or recycling in the 3R of economic eco-friendly. So utilizing this fly ash for making bricks, it is a recycling method and it is eco-friendly. So directly, it is reducing the burden on the environment. So it is an eco-friendly method using the fly ash bricks and cement. Also the NTPC has set up this fly ash brick manufacturing plants, in its coal-based thermal power plants directly in the plant itself. And yes, so it can be used in the plant as well. And nearly the fly ash utilization has grown up by nearly 80% in the country. So people start to feel the importance of this fly ash. Next is Indo-Italian ties. So after 2008, so recently our External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, he went to Italy regarding the meeting and regarding to exchanges, bilateral and other developments regarding the India-Italy bilateral relations. Yes, so about Italy is considered as the 8th largest economy in the world. 8th largest economy, and it is also a member of European Union, also influential in G20. It is a member of G7, NATO, OECD, all the developed countries organization. And so Italy has chosen India as among the 5 priority countries. So it's a two-way collaboration. Both countries, they will collaborate in these areas like technology cooperation, co-development, co-production, defense cooperation, all those things. Also, they have already set up a joint defense committee to promote the defense relations. Also, in November 2020, our Prime Minister Narendra Modi and PM of Italy, Giuseppe Conte, they have signed a joint declaration and plan of action to prioritize area of cooperation and strategic goals. A 5-year plan till 2025. So till 2025, what are the plans that Italy and India has to carry? It has already been signed. And yes, India is considered as the 5th largest trade partner in EU, and Italian investments are nearly around 600 companies, Italian companies are investing in India. So it is a strategic. Also, if you gain access to Italy, you can also gain access direct to the Mediterranean Sea. So strategically Italy is very important. Next one, it is Nipun Bharat. Recently, Department of School Education and Literacy, a department under Ministry of Education, it launched this Nipun Bharat, which stands for National Initiative for Proficiency in Reading with Understanding and Numeracy, on the same date. And what is this specific mission is all about? It is in the name, for attaining proficiency in reading along with understanding and numeracy. Because generally whenever we are talking about literacy rate is nothing but the to the total adult population, which is nothing but 15 years and above. 15 years and above. So the total population of 15 years and above, out of that, how many people can able to read and write? A simple statement into 100. This will give the literacy rate. Okay, so out of the total adult population, which means 15 years. Okay, people who are 15 years and above, out of total people who are 15 years and above, okay, how much people can able to read and write? A simple sentence. It is called as literacy rate. But that literacy rate is not, very well defined, and it does not necessarily mean that people have to be very literate. No. Okay, to have a wide and a broad, understanding of this literacy, this national initiative for proficiency in reading with understanding. That is why proficiency in reading with understanding. Just like that, without reading and writing, we have to have a good understanding in numeracy. So that is why this NIPIN mission has been launched. So what is the aim? To create an enabling environment to ensure universal acquisition of foundational literacy and numeracy. Okay, basic, modern and expanded definition of literacy. Not just reading simple statement, but also all understanding things, so that every child achieves the desired learning competency in reading, writing and numeracy. Because lot of videos you would have seen, in Bihar, students are unable, 5th class students are unable to read English, are unable to read a single line in English or read Hindi, don't know any idea about maths, so like that. So that is why, to strengthen the basics, okay, at the earliest childhood level, this mission has been launched. And this mission will be implemented. The implementing agency, it is Department of School Educational Literacy. And a 5-tier implementation mechanism is being put in place. Okay, generally 3-tier, 4-tier, but here it is 5-tier, which shows a more importance and decentralized approach at national, state, district, block and school level. So nearly 5 tiers, different stages in all states and UTs. That is very, very important. And under the aegis, okay, of sponsored scheme called Samagara Shiksha. And Samagara Shiksha is nothing but an integrated scheme for school education. Integrated scheme for school education. And under the Samagara education scheme only, SSA, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, and RMSA, Rashtriya Madhya Shiksha Abhiyan. So these two schemes are subsumed under this Samagara Shiksha scheme. Okay, integrated education, okay, school education scheme at all school levels. Next one is Swami Vivekananda. So recently, the spiritual leader of India, okay, the death anniversary of Swami Vivekananda has been celebrated. Okay, so he died at 39 years at Belur Math in West Bengal. So yes, Swami Vivekananda, he was born as Narendranath Datta, okay, an Indian Hindu monk, and he was a disciple of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. So his spiritual guru is Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, and he is also hailed as a Dhyana Siddha, which means meditating guru, okay, meditating expert. So he became world famous, okay, in 1893 when he gave his maiden speech to the world Parliament of Religions in Chicago, where he started with the words, "My dear brothers and sisters of USA." So this made him popular throughout the world. And what are the contribution of this Swami Vivekananda? Yes, in 1997 he founded this Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission, an Indian social religious reform movement. Okay, so the motto of this movement is service to mankind is service to God. That is the motto. So you do service to the people, it is directly service to the God. And also he gave a new theory of ethics, morality based on intrinsic purity and oneness of Atman. Okay, innate or intrinsic purity. And also in 1984 the government of India declared 12th January, okay, his birthday as National Youth Day. So the National Youth Day is celebrated on 12th January every year on the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda, a national icon. Not only national icon but a global icon. Next it is BOLD project. Okay, so this specific BOLD project has been introduced by the KVIC, which is Khadi and Village Industries Commission. So what is this project is all about? Reduce desertification and provide livelihood for the rural industry people. So desertification, I told you, fertile land will turn into a unfertile land. That is called desertification. And reduce desertification, at the same time provide livelihood to the rural people who, okay, are dependent on agriculture. And this is this BOLD project, and it is initiated by Khadi and Village Industries Commission, a statutory body, a body created by means of an act, a statutory body under Ministry of MSME, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Ministry of MSME. So what is this BOLD? So BOLD is an acronym which stands for Bamboo Oasis on Land in Drought. Okay, it is called BOLD. So it is the first of its kind exercise in India, okay, launched in the tribal village of Nichala Mandawa in Udaipur, Rajasthan. It is in Rajasthan for the first time. So what this project envisages, nearly 5,000 samples, the samplings of this special bamboo species like Bambusa tulda and Bambusa polymorpha, okay, brought from Assam. It will be planted nearly over 16 acres on vacant arid Gram Panchayat land. In Rajasthan area, it is arid and semi-arid mostly. And in this semi-arid and arid area, these two bamboo species will be planted. Okay, because Rajasthan, Haryana and UP, Western UP, they are the areas most affected by desertification. So it will seek to create bamboo-based green patches in arid and semi-arid land zones. Because bamboo, it will grow even in dry and semi-arid land. Other trees it won't survive, but bamboo it will survive, and thereby reducing the desertification further. Okay, reducing land degradation and preventing desertification of the country. Okay, so bamboo don't need any special care. Okay, just with minimum water, minimum fertility, the bamboo, it will increase the green cover of India as well. And this initiative has been launched as part of this Khadi and Village Industries Commission's Khadi Bamboo Festival, so which celebrates the 75th year of independence. Okay, Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, which falls on 2022. And yes, so this also replicate this project at Dholera, okay, in Ahmedabad district in Gujarat, as also in Leh Ladakh region. So other than this Rajasthan area, it is also to be practiced, okay, replicated in Ahmedabad district in Gujarat as well as in Ladakh region in this same year. Next is it is child soldiers. So recently United States of America's annual Trafficking in Persons report, or TIP report, okay, which is a USA's annual report. It added Pakistan and nearly 14 other countries like Somalia, Burkina Faso, some of the African countries to a child soldier recruiter list. So this child soldier recruiters, who are countries who are recruiting large numbers child soldiers, okay, for this proxy war, and the Pakistan also is included under this, okay, combined group of 14 countries. Yes, so the recruitment or use of children below the age of 15 as soldiers is prohibited by the very important convention, UN Convention of Rights of the Child, or CRC, Convention on Rights of Childs, and also the additional protocol of Geneva Convention. So all these conventions are the international conventions accepted by UNO. Okay, this specific convention, I can see it is adopted on 1989 and came into force by 1990. India is also a signatory, and India ratified, okay, this United Nations Convention on Right of the Child, CRC Convention, and India ratified it by 1992. Also 183 countries including India, yes, they have ratified, and it requires the parties to ensure children under 18 are not engaged in direct hostilities. So war, any other terrorist activities, anything, children below 18 years should not be involved. So that is a main objective of the specific convention. Yes, it also prohibits the state parties from recruiting children under 15 into armed forces. So that is why even in Indian entry it is above 16, not below 15. So because India is a signatory and ratified this specific convention, and it is also considered as a war crime under Rome Statute of International Criminal Code, ICC. India is not a member of ICC, but it falls under this. India is not a member. India is only member of ICJ, International Court of Justice, okay, United Nations Court, okay, United Nations Supreme Court. ICC, India is not a member. Next one, it is Ayurveda data set. So yes, recently, to show the world about the visibility of Ayurveda based clinical trials, okay, the Ayurveda data set on CTRA portal. CTRA means Clinical Trial Registry of India. So what are the clinical trials of different medicines that has been done? Okay, it is an online public record where any people can log in and can see how many trials for each medicine has been done and what are the results, you can see. And it has been launched by the Ayush Minister to make Ayush popular among the world countries. Yes, so this Ayurveda data set of CTRA developed jointly by ICMR, okay, Indian Council of Medical Research, and CCRAS, okay, under the Ministry of Ayush. So the CTRA, it is a primary register of clinical trials. Yes, what are the clinical trials? Okay, giving a medicine, finding the outcome, based on the outcome, okay, whether it is efficient or not. So that is called clinical trial under this WHO's International Clinical Trial Registry platform. So it is a central platform, and the CTRA is a Indian, okay, each country has a one body, and Indian body it is CTRA. and yes. So it also involves the creation of Ayurveda data set in CTRA facilities, okay, to record clinical study based on the Ayurveda invention. So simple, how much Ayurveda medicines are efficient, to see that, for people to believe that, okay, each Ayurveda medicine and the corresponding output will be recorded and it will be put inside the CTRA portal. Anyone can go and anyone can see. Also this Namaste portal, which is the portal developed by the Ayush Ministry, it is also, okay, useful. It is also used in the specific CTRA portal to make Ayush so simple. The whole idea about this Ayurveda data set on the clinical trial registry of India, it is make Ayurveda believable, and people has to believe the treatment of Ayurveda and make it, famous worldwide. Next is Chief Minister's appointment. So recently Pushkar Singh Dhami, okay, he took over as the Chief Minister of Uttarakhand. He replaced Tirath Singh Rawat. So recently, for the last 6 months, and a lot of things happened with respect to Uttarakhand's Chief Minister, and Tirath Singh Rawat, yes, he just lasted 114 days. So what happened? What gave rise to this? Before that, Trivendra Singh Rawat, okay, he was leading for 4 years. 4 years he has been the CM, okay, for 4 years, and after that Tirath Singh Rawat has been appointed. So why he has to resign? The sense simple. Not according to the constitution only says, you can see the constitutional provisions for CM. According to Article 164(1), Chief Minister shall be appointed by the Governor, and other ministers appointed on orders of Chief Minister. They don't tell anything about the process of election of Chief Minister. We are only following the process, general election, 5 years term, everything based on the parliamentary conventions of Britain. Okay. So the thing is, anyone can be appointed according to the Supreme Court and High Court. Anyone can be appointed as a Prime Minister or a Chief Minister, but provided after appointing within 6 months. Within 6 months, he has to get elected himself from any of the constituency. So he has to stand in any by-election in any constituency, and he has to win, and he has to become an MLA from any constituency within 6 months. So that is why anyone can be. That is why even Mamata Banerjee, he lost this Nandigram. Even though he lost, he became Chief Minister. So after he becoming Chief Minister, within 6 months, she has to stand in any of the constituency and she has to win, okay, as an MLA. Then only her candidature will be considered. Similarly, within 6 months he has to. So March 10, he came into power. By September 10, okay, he has to be elected. But since, okay, no work or no action has been done regarding that, okay, and seeing the term that is about to expire, okay, Tirath Singh Rawat, he automatically resigned. Okay, that is a problem. That is why he resigned. And yes, 164 talks about CM appointed by Governor and other ministers appointed by Chief Minister. And also Article 164(2) talks about COM, Council of Ministers headed by CM, collectively responsible to the Legislative Assembly of the state. So CM plus COM responsible to SLA or State Legislative Assembly. So that's it with current affairs. So let us come up with more informative, innovative current affairs tomorrow. Thank you.